All right, today we are diving into something truly fascinating. We're going to map out a timeless path to mastery, and our guide is none other than the 3,000-year-old Chinese classic, the I Ching. We're pulling out four incredibly powerful principles for growth, both in your career and, well, in life. So, let's get into it.
So, I know what you might be thinking. The I Ching? Isn't that about fortune telling? And yeah, it's used that way. But we're looking at it through a different lens today. Not as some mystical oracle, but as a deep well of practical, strategic wisdom that is just as sharp now as it was thousands of years ago.
Okay, so our journey starts at the very beginning, with the foundation of influence. This comes from what the I Ching calls hexagram 19. You can think of a hexagram as kind of like a symbolic chapter, and this one is all about how we approach and lead other people. And spoiler alert, it's not about control, it's all about connection.
To really get this, we have to draw a line in the sand between two ideas. See, management is about process, efficiency, doing things right. But leadership, and that's our focus, is about vision. It's about doing the right things to inspire people to jump on board and work together because they want to.
So how do you do that? How do you get people to want to follow? Well, the I Ching points to one absolutely essential tool, an emotional connection. It's about leading with real integrity and genuine care. It's moving way beyond just barking orders and actually connecting with the hearts of your people.
And check this out. You can see exactly how this works. At the bottom, you've got grudging compliance. Sure, you can force people, but they might even sabotage you. A step up is blind compliance, where they just do what they're told, but they won't speak up when there's a problem. Now, engage the mind, and they start to get it. They suggest improvements. But the top tier, the real goal, is the heart. That's when you get full support, people encouraging each other, true innovation. That's the magic.
It really all boils down to this, doesn't it? Your skills, your knowledge, your big brain, none of it really lands until people feel that you genuinely have their back. This is the absolute bedrock of mastery.
All right, let's build on that. Once you have that foundation of trust, a leader needs something else, vision. And that vision, it comes from the power of careful, deliberate observation. Now, when we say observation, we are not just talking about looking around. The I Ching treats it as something almost sacred. It's this deep, objective process of seeing things without bias, without your own filters, so you can understand how things really work, whether that's nature, a business, or a team.
And that understanding isn't just for fun. It kicks off this incredibly powerful cycle. You observe what's real, you learn from what you see, you apply that new knowledge, and boom, you create real, meaningful transformation. This is how a vision stops being a daydream and starts becoming reality.
So where do we start? Simple. We start by observing the world around us. We learn to see things with the open curiosity of a child, but with the focused mind of an adult, always looking for the patterns hiding just beneath the surface.
But the journey quickly takes a turn inward, and this is so important. We have to observe ourselves. We have to reflect on our own choices, our own actions, and see the results clearly. This is how we make sure we haven't lost our own way. It's where true wisdom starts to take root.
From there, the lens pulls back out again. A leader has to observe their group, their company, their community, understanding that people in a group often behave in totally different ways than they do as individuals. You got to see the whole system. And the final step, the perspective becomes global. The work of a true master is never really done. They are constantly observing the wider world, trying to understand how they can contribute to the greatest good for everyone. So, you've got a foundation of leadership from the heart, and you have a clear vision from deep observation. Awesome. But what happens when someone messes up? When things go wrong? Well, that brings us to our third stage, and honestly, it can be the toughest one, the necessity of discipline. Now, the hexagram for this is called biting. I know, it sounds harsh, right? But the metaphor is really about biting through an obstacle. It's about clearing a blockage. Discipline, in this view, isn't about being cruel. It's a tool that's focused on the future, used to correct a problem so that everyone can start moving forward again.
But, and this is a huge but, for discipline to work, for it to be just, it needs one thing more than anything else: clarity. The rules of the game, the expected behaviors, and the consequences for breaking those rules have to be crystal clear to everyone from the get-go. No surprises.
The I Ching paints a pretty vivid picture of how this escalates. A first mistake might get you a symbolic shackle on the feet, just a little correction to stop you from heading in the wrong direction.
But if that warning is ignored, the punishment gets more severe. And the final stage? A shackle covering the ears. It's a powerful metaphor for someone who has simply refused to listen, who has tuned out all guidance.
Okay, after walking through leadership, vision, and discipline, we finally arrive at the peak of the mountain. This is the final stage of the journey, where a true master embodies all these principles with a kind of effortless beauty, something the I Ching calls adornment or grace.
Now, true grace isn't just about surface-level stuff. It's about a perfect harmony, a balance between inner beauty, your character, your substance, your wisdom, and outer beauty, how you look, how you act, your elegance. When those two are perfectly aligned, that's when you see real grace.
And here's a really cool kind of counterintuitive idea. As your inner beauty gets stronger and deeper, your need for flashy external decoration actually gets smaller. Real mastery isn't about adding more stuff. It's about stripping away everything that's non-essential, until all that's left is a powerful, elegant simplicity. The source material actually gives us a fantastic Japanese word for this state, shibumi. It describes this simple, quiet, unpretentious kind of elegance. It's the kind of beauty that's so profound it doesn't need to shout to be noticed.
So there you have it, a 3,000-year-old roadmap to mastery, and it is as relevant as ever. It's a fourfold path. First, you lead with heart to build trust. Second, you observe with purpose to find your vision. Third, you act with discipline when you need to clear the way. And finally, you express all of that with effortless grace.
You know, this ancient path is really like a mirror for our own lives. So, as we close this out, I'll leave you with a question to think about. Looking at your own journey right now, at your work, at your life, which of these 4 stages is calling for your attention? Where will you focus next? Thanks so much for joining me.